Hey guys, so I used to do a blog, and I've got a handful of topics that were on my blog that no one ever read because, blogs are a thing. So I'm going to get with the times, and so I'm going to redo a couple of topics that I had really visited before. And one of them that I really want to hit is feminism in the craft and where the hell that all came from. So I'm going to lay some history on you. For those of you that didn't know, Wicca specifically, Wicca via Gerald Gardner, and Wicca, W-I-C-C-A, also spelled W-I-C-A, that's one C, did not publicly exist, period, prior to 1950. We can debate what happened prior to 1950 with Gerald Gardner all we want. I'm not going to go there right now. Wicca did not exist in the United States until the 1970s. People can dispute that all they want. Witchcraft is something different, okay? Witchcraft and Wicca are two different things. They overlap, of course, but Wicca, as we know it today, did not exist until the 1970s in the United States when Raymond Buckland brought it over with his wife at the time from Britain. Okay, so that being said, when Wicca hit the United States, the feminist movement was already in full swing. It was something that empowered women. However, originally and in traditional circles, Wicca is a lot more balanced. And what I mean by that is that we honor the masculine and the feminine. And when you go to Europe, specifically trad Wicca or traditional Wicca, which by the way over there is just called Wicca, eclectic Wicca really is not a thing outside the United States. There's a few places where it's becoming more of a thing. I hate to say, I'm not trying to diss on eclectic Wiccans, but you basically either have, quote, practitioners of witchcraft and the various wording there, but Wicca in Europe still refers, to Gerald Gardner and what he started, continued, revived, what have you. So a lot of what went on is that, women in that time frame in the United States obviously didn't have a lot of rights. They didn't have the ability to do things. And so they really picked it up and ran with it. People like Starhawk and the reclaiming tradition, which, by the way, I think are fantastic. I'm not quite that feminist political, but I do think that what they did is amazing. I just want to be very clear with that. It's not my wheelhouse, and it's not where I call home, but I absolutely think that they're up to something good over there. I just don't necessarily fully jive with it. But people like Starhawk and other women, around in the 60s with the bra burnings and the everything, really latched onto this idea of a female deity. And I just want to be very clear, the idea of specific goddess religions. As a Wiccan, as a British traditional Wiccan, as a trad Wiccan, I do not consider myself simply a goddess worshiper. I consider myself a pagan. I do definitely revere, honor, and love very much the goddess, but I also focus on the divine masculine, the god. And so a lot of these things, we have the Dianic Wiccans, where they only practice women with other women. I have heard so many times, circle is sacred woman's space. I remember in my mother coven, we were doing a public outer court circle that multiple people could attend. We kind of put flyers up, showed up at this interfaith church, and we were all hanging out. There were a few elderly ladies, sitting around chewing the fat, gabbing, and our priest walks in. And these three old women start shrieking like a gaggle of hens. Oh my God, there's a man in sacred space. Oh no! And they were so confused. And we're like, that is our priest. And they're like, why do you have a Catholic here? And we're like, no, darling, he's a Wiccan priest. And I just really want to clarify kind of some of that history and where a lot of that comes from for people who didn't know. And, don't get me wrong. I think there's totally a case for women's mysteries and for a place for women to be and a place for women to exist. As a woman, yeah, there's times I like to be around other women. I've contemplated when we get the temple up and running in person, in the physical, possibly doing some red tent kind of revivals. If you're not familiar with the concept of a red tent, excuse me, dirt road here. The concept of a red tent is really cool. There's various versions of it in different cultures. There is a book and a movie entitled The Red Tent. It is based in the history of the Bible, but I promise, as a pagan and a feminist, you're gonna love it. It's amazing. It's really rough. It's really raw. Bring freaking tissues and ice cream and a fuzzy animal, because you're gonna need it. But the concept essentially is that in this nomadic tribal society where they all live in tents, there's one special tent erected, and it's a red tent. And anytime that the women are bleeding, they go to this tent. I know a lot of Native American cultures have a similar practice. I don't know the names. I'm sorry. I can't citation them specifically. But so there is a place for women's mysteries. And I'm not trying to dog on people because, as a high priestess, who is meant in certain situations to represent and embody the goddess, I definitely love her and she has a special place for me. But I kind of wanted to address the fact that some people are like, what do you mean there's God? What do you mean there's men? What do you mean there's priests? What do you mean? Yeah, it's a fertility religion. Any which way you want to slice it. Paganism comes down to agriculture and fertility, and I love y'all, I do. Women don't just impregnate themselves. Am I going to elevate the masculine over the feminine? No. Am I trying to elevate the feminine over the masculine? No. And that's where that really shocks somebody. I will say, depending on the holiday, depending on the event, depending on what's going on, one might be accentuated, at Lammas when we're honoring and sacrificing the John Barleycorn, the masculine's got it. It's his show today. If you're looking at a full moon where you're embracing the divine feminine and the full moon, it's her time. But I really want to kind of talk about that balance. If anybody has questions or further really to look into that, I'm not really sure what else to say right now, except that, that there's more. And, for people, by the way, who are curious, I personally, and everybody's going to have their own opinion, and some people disagree with me, although I think some of us are on the same page, most of us, Gardnerian-wise. I'm not saying, for example, gay people aren't okay or that trans people aren't okay, because here's the thing. Just like the yin-yang, there's white in the black and black in the white, and, the two mix. I think everybody is a mixture of the two. I'm a woman. I don't deny that I'm a woman. I love showing cleavage. I definitely have tits. You don't see my lower half in these videos, but let's just say I got some nice curves, and I'm not afraid to work them. But I have what are considered masculine traits. I'm very outspoken and strong-willed for a woman. I'm not afraid to get in somebody's face if I need to. I don't know if that comes through in these videos or not. But I'm pretty bold, upfront, and bam. So for me, I would say I'm not trans, I'm not gay, I'm not whatever, but I do definitely have a lot of that masculine. And to me, that's part of the balance. You can't have one side of a coin without the other. So for what it's worth, I don't care if you're man, woman, trans, queer, anything in between. I love you all. You're all welcome in my circles. It's totally cool, and I'm not trying to leave anybody out, but I think that's kind of the point, in that, it's a spectrum. And if you're on that spectrum, at least in my opinion, and it's just one opinion, I think only emphasizing the female is really leaving out a lot of folks. I know, just for what it's worth, in case if you're listening to this and you're a guy or you're, wondering about it, there's actually, Minoans are like the opposite of Dianics. They're all men, for men, all the time. From what I understand, they're largely gay, although not all of them. It's not like a requirement to be gay, from what I understand, to go in there. But the Minoan Brotherhood is male, all the time. And I don't know a lot about it. But they also honor the goddess and the god. But so for people who are rampaging feminists, I just really want to put out there, I think there's a lot of good to embracing the feminine, but at the same time, please, 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 if you're going to wear your stilettos, don't use them to step on the throats of our men. One of the things that I struggle with as a traditional, I'm very blessed. to have a priest who I'm training. He's my life partner, and I love him, and he's doing so well. But to take him out and about into the public, whether it's eclectic or traditional, and have people shit on him because he's a dude. You know, he's just as talented of a witch as I am. He doesn't have all the training I have, but you know what? He's on the level. He's great. He's fantastic. And, you know, I just hear a lot of pain coming from our men in the craft. And those of you who are on my Facebook page will see, I share male witch stuff as often as it comes up. And that's witch, that's not just Wicca. But it doesn't come up a lot. I wish it came up more. You know, sometimes I wish I was a dude so I could be like, hey, rally the men. But it's kind of hard to do when you've got boobs. Well, I don't know. Maybe I could use boobs to rally men. That's another topic. But, so yeah, I just want people to think, you know, when you're thinking about the feminism, when you're thinking about everything, pay some homage to the masculine. She doesn't get pregnant by herself. She doesn't run the whole universe by herself. I know there's a lot of people that think that, and you can hate me if you want to. But you know what? The animals, even plants, you've got male parts, you've got female parts, you've got creatures that have both. For what it's worth, if you don't know, worms or earthworms are hermaphrodites. There are plenty of animals in the natural world that change gender. There are plenty of animals in the natural world that are known to be homosexual. And so again, love for all my LGBT, what is it, QIA2 plus? I can't keep up, but I love you all anyway. You're great. This has been Simply Runa, and I hope you guys have a fantastic day. Bye.